Man, I wonder how much free time Juraj Slafkovsky has to write these blogs. Last time we made a video going over the blog de Juraj, it was a pretty good time. So I wanted to do the same thing here on what I'm going to presume is going to be Juraj's last vlog of the season. It was published April 18th, Le Blog de Juraj on elonash.com. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and read this yourself. I did need to translate this because, you know, all the Juraj Slafkovsky posts are in French. I don't know if there's an English version. If there is, then I'm kind of just wasting my time here. But today we're reading Juraj Slafkovsky's blog and going over his thoughts about the end of the 23-24 regular season. Ah yes, he does say it here in the intro. Hello everyone, I'm talking to you for one last time this season. I just finished my interviews in the Canadiens locker room, and in a few minutes, I'll meet with the team management to look back on my second season in Montreal. It's crazy how time flies. It's already time for goodbyes in our locker room. We're closing a chapter, but we're already looking forward to the next one. I like the way we built our team. For my part, I won't put away my poles and skates for too long. I'll give myself a few days of rest, but I'll probably leave again next week for Slovakia. Poles? I think that should say sticks. Yeah, it's a little bit of an odd translation there by the Google machine. He does confirm here that he will represent his country at the World Championships, which will take place in Prague and Ostrava in the Czech Republic. This will be the third time he is participating in the World Championships, accompanying 2021 and 2022. Now, I wanted to use this comment in the article as a starting point to get into a bigger conversation as to Juraj Slafkovsky and his international play. Because 2 years ago, he did play for the World Championships in Slovakia, and it was part of the reason he was even seen as a super highly touted guy. At the World Championships, he had 9 points in 8 games played, and even in the Olympic Games that season, he had 7 goals in 7 games played. So Juraj Slafkovsky, for all intents and purposes, has always been really good at these international tournaments. Last year, he didn't participate in any of them, which is understandable because of the injury, but even if you look at some of the numbers, this is what we had seen out of the World Championship Slovak team 2 years ago. Slafkovsky was number 1 in point production, outproducing older guys who were in junior hockey like Milos Roman, outproducing Adam Sikora of the Rangers system, outproducing eventual second overall pick Simon Nemec, outproducing Pavel Regenda and Tomáš Tatar too. Now that's a name that a lot of Canadiens fans will remember, but Tomáš Tatar was a fairly good player, and especially around 2 years ago-ish, you could say that there was a skill set in him that allowed him to potentially be a dominant force on an international Slovak team. But Slafkovsky beat him out. You could say the same thing about the Olympic Games 2 seasons ago. Now, it's a little bit different because Slafkovsky, he was first overall in points and in goals, but in this time frame in 2022, NHL players still were not allowed at the Olympics, so you're not going to see too many notable names here, some of the same guys from the World Championship team. But at the very least, for that World Championship team, he was already the best guy on it, and he was 2 years younger than he is now. Is there not reason to believe that with Juraj Slafkovsky's development, with his improvements in his decision-making, in his puck retrievals, in his confidence even, is it not fair to say that he should be one of the biggest threats to make an impact on this team? Like, I get it, you could say that, okay, the competition is not as strong as NHL competition, so he should have a buy-in, but you could also debate that some of the guys he's playing with are not going to be as good as Cole Caufield or Nick Suzuki. Like, I'm sorry, Tomáš Tatar, but that's just kind of how it is in 2024. So, there is a balance here. You could see Slafkovsky go out there and produce extraordinary results. You could see him produce, let's say, maybe meager results compared to the rest of the tournament, but I have no doubt that he's probably going to be the number 1 guy in terms of points again. It's just a matter of how far he's going to go. Let's continue on with the article here. I love playing for my country. The World Championships will take place in the Czech Republic. There will be several supporters of Slovakia in the stands. That will be great. For me, it's another motivation to participate. It's near my hometown of Kosice, and my family will be able to come and see me play, as will my friends. I would like to play in the playoffs more, but I always fulfill some sort of dream when I represent Slovakia on the world stage. I believe we have a good team this year. I'm also looking forward to reconnecting with Craig Ramsay, who will still be our head coach. This could be his last tournament. Craig helped me a lot. He shaped my path to the NHL a little bit. I might play for him one last time. He then talks about Craig Ramsay, he talks about the Olympic Games, he talks about some of their goals for the Slovak team, and he also talks about Simon Nemec. Take a look at this. With the Slovak team, I'll reconnect with my great friend Simon Nemec of the New Jersey Devils. I also enjoy spending time with him. I hope we play together on the power play. We're already talking about it. I'll also meet very good friends within the Slovak team. It's always a special moment to experience such a tournament. He then goes from one teammate to the other, from the Slovak team to the Canadiens, and he says this, I also know that I'll meet Cole Caufield at the World Cup. I looked at the schedule and circled the date May 13th. There'll be a match between the US and Slovakia in Ostrava. So it's good to see some of these things here. I mean, Simon Nemec was the second overall pick right after Slafkovsky in that 2022 draft. We all know the story. We all have heard what happened before, how the New Jersey Devils had Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier, so the idea of drafting Wright or Cooley, the projected 1 and 2 overall picks in that spot, wasn't really all too beneficial in their eyes, so they took Simon Nemec, who may or may not have been a second overall caliber talent in your opinion, but who was definitely good enough to go somewhere in the top 5. Just a little bit high there on second. But he's fine, though. He's been doing pretty well in New Jersey. I think it's a really good progression that he has exhibited from season to season. I mean, let's just show some love to Simon Nemec right now. He had 19 points in 60 New Jersey Devils games. Sure, he did not produce as much as Luke Hughes did, but he is a year younger. So when it comes to the future, Nemec and Hughes being the number 1 and number 2 defensemen on this team seems like a pretty good bet. But for now, we'll hopefully see some improvements out of these guys on the international stage, as Simon Nemec is hopefully looking to set up Juraj Slafkovsky with some one-time bombs on the power play. Very unlike Mike Matheson, but maybe Slafkovsky will actually get some passes now on the man advantage. How about it? Slafkovsky talking about Cole Caufield also gives me a little bit of a chuckle. We already heard earlier this week that Nick Suzuki is probably not going to go over to Team Canada, so it doesn't really seem like the entire line is going to be present, but either way, 2 out of the 3 members is pretty good, and as we've been kind of hinting at this entire time, Cole Caufield has an opportunity to maybe try to convince Trevor Zegras to come to Montreal with this new reunion, because they're going to be on the same team and hopefully the same line together. Hopefully the game against the Slovaks is going to be a good one. But going back over to the article and finishing things off, Juraj talks about his last game of the season, how he had scored his 20th goal of the year, and he also got an assist on the Caufield goal, thus achieving his 2 objectives that he had talked about in the prior article. 20 goals and 50 points. I jumped for joy as I redirected Lane Hudson's shot past the Red Wings goaltender. I joked after the game, it was an expensive goal as I got a $250,000 bonus, but for me it's more anecdotal. I was asked a lot about my progress during my assessment with the journalists. I look back on my second season and I still don't know how to describe it. I was happy to see my growth in my game. I learned a lot about myself and I also learned to become patient. I would say that patience is the right word to sum up this second season. Patience. That's good. I think many people, fans of other teams, should have been a little bit more patient in regards to Juraj Slafkovsky because of the non-linear progression he exhibited this year. The first 20 games, the second 20 games, the third 20 games, and the fourth 20 games were all so different in terms of Slafkovsky's production, his confidence, all the stuff that we had talked about before. We made a ton of videos about it. So him acknowledging that, saying, yeah, it's about patience. That's what this season was about. That is true. And heading into next season, I think a lot of people will be starting to expect a little bit more out of Slafkovsky, but, I mean, big reminder, the guy's 20 years old. We don't need to be too eager and advancing with Slafkovsky's point production. If he gets another 50-point season, that's fine. If he gets 60 points, that's fine. Nobody should be going out there and expecting 80 or 90 points because these things take time. Maybe he'll get there one day, who really knows. But for now, Juraj Slafkovsky talks about the patience. He also says this, next year I want even more. I had a good second half of the season, but I would like to continue at the same pace next season. There is also another great motivation. I'm so looking forward to discovering playoff hockey in Montreal. I play for that. I want to experience the playoffs. I would like to see the atmosphere. Our building is already nosy for a regular season meeting in November or March. I can't imagine the atmosphere in April, May, or June. I greet you and wish you a wonderful summer. See you next season. Juraj Slafkovsky, thank you, buddy, for the blog and giving us some talking points for today's afternoon show. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Juraj Slafkovsky's final comments. He called out Cole Caufield as a potential opponent. He spoke about his teammate in Slovakia, Simon Nemec, and how they're both going to be, hopefully, rebuilding some of that chemistry in the power play. He also talked about his season. He talked about the goal that he had scored with Lane Hudson. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as to how Slafkovsky has progressed this year. Description's also going to have the link to this blog if you want to have it yourself. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.